When I was around the ages of 12 and 13, I would often be left home alone after school. My parents and my younger sisters normally didn't arrive home for about half an hour. I normally didn't mind being alone at all. I could eat whatever I wanted, watch TV at a loud volume without being yelled at, yell about how shitty my day was to my friends on FaceTime without being interrupted. On that particular day, I walked in the door and dropped my bags. All I wanted to do was eat a fresh bowl of mac and cheese and cry. I was exhausted, so I got to doing just that. As soon as I began to boil the water, I heard the unmistakable sound of somebody wearing big heavy snow boots walking around downstairs. I knew it couldn't have been anybody in my family because my father, who was always the first one home besides me, wouldn't be home for another hour. Even if he had gotten home early, he would have messaged me. I would have clearly heard the garage door open. To stop myself from panicking, I told myself that the washing machine was most likely uneven and I should go and check on it. I turned the stove off, and just in case somebody was breaking in, I grabbed a giant kitchen knife and went downstairs. The washing machine, where the dryer wasn't even running. My brain basically froze. I stood in front of the stairway for a good minute, trying to figure out what I had heard, trying to put some kind of calming explanation behind it. When all of a sudden, the room went freezing cold, and I felt somebody standing behind me. When whoever this was breathed down my neck, it was over. I full-on sprinted up the stairs, not only hearing footsteps behind me, but also hearing heavy breathing. When I got to the top of the stairs, I remembered I was holding a knife. I spun around to teach this fucker not to go into people's houses, and when I did, nobody was there. I assumed that the intruder had retreated downstairs, so I locked myself in the bathroom and messaged my dad. He told me to stay put and not to make any loud sounds. When I asked him if I should call 911, he said no. So there I sat, in the bathroom, trying not to cry, because my worst nightmare had finally come true. When all of a sudden, I heard the sound of the heavy boots again, but this time, they're walking up the stairs. I quickly messaged my dad to see if he was home, and he said no. I felt my stomach drop as the footsteps came closer and closer until they were right at my door. I covered my mouth with my hand, but I still didn't cover the sound of heavy breathing due to sheer panic. I could see the shadow of this person's feet in the crack underneath the door. I could hear him breathing on the door. I stood there, silencing my cries, tears rushing down my face. I was horrified. All of a sudden, I heard my dad's garage door open. A rush of relief filled my body. I heard the intruder run into my parents' room. My dad checked the entire house. There was nothing. No broken windows, all the doors were locked, and of course, there was no intruder. The only thing wrong was the basement. It was trashed, and my mother had cleaned it that day. My dad joked about how it was just my imagination. He said I was just paranoid. To this day, I still can't explain it. I know what I heard. I know what I felt. This story takes place during Chennai floods in November 2015. My husband and I used to live in a one-bedroom apartment in a gated community in Chennai, which is a city located in southern India. Opposite to our community, we have Lord Shiva Temple, along with a small pond and cemetery. Our house owner lives in the US, but before handing the keys to the apartment, she lived in the same house with her son and a maid. Her son is physically and mentally handicapped and is afraid of everything, even his own image. And the house used to have a big mirror slanted against the wall like they show in Indian horror movies. One night, it was raining heavily, and there was a power cut around 8:30 p.m. I lit up some candles and placed them in the bedroom and kitchen as there was some problem with our generator plug. I was preparing dinner in the kitchen and my husband had rushed to the office due to some urgent work. I was used to being home alone, but that night, I was afraid of being alone. While I was in the kitchen preparing dinner, the candle lights in the bedroom went off. I thought it's because of the wind blowing, and there is a storm coming. Then I saw something that is like a shadow standing at the window. I thought it's maybe my mind playing tricks as I was already afraid of the outside circumstances. But then I saw it again, this time near the bedroom door. I was absolutely terrified and immediately called my husband to come home. He said he would be there within 15 minutes. Then I went inside the bedroom and lit the candles again, but this time I was talking with my mom and I suddenly felt cold inside the room and that something passed over the mirror. I checked to see what it is, but I couldn't find anything. By this time, I was so creeped out and left the room immediately. I called my husband again numerous times, but he was not picking up the phone. But out of nowhere, my phone died, and an odd smell starts to come from behind the mirror. Suddenly, I hear a knock on the door. Thank God it's my husband, and immediately everything is like poof, like nothing happened. I told him I was terrified of the storm, and asked him why he did not answer his phone. He sheepishly shows me the KFC box, and says that his phone was in silent mode, shows me that I did not call him after all. Out of nowhere, my phone starts to work and I show him the call log, but he never got the call. We vacated the house 2 months later and shifted to a new city. I can never explain what happened to me that day up to now. It's really the creepiest thing I've experienced in my whole life. My parents started leaving me and my sisters home alone when I was 13 or 14. Of course, the rule was to not let anyone know we were alone and to not let anyone in the house. One night, there was a knock at my door. I went to the door and tried to look out, but I couldn't see. We couldn't pretend we weren't there because the lights and TV were on. I opened the front door a crack, thinking that the person would be behind the screen door, but that wasn't the case. There was a man, late 20s or early 30s, just standing in the doorway. I shut the door quickly and told him to get behind the screen door. He obliqued, and I cracked the door. Yes, I wasn't very smart, and I latched the screen door. He told a story about his vehicle breaking down and his need to use a phone. I said I couldn't see a car, and he indicated it was further down the road. I asked why he walked past the two houses right next door to one with no car in the driveway. He became agitated. So here's a general recollection of the conversation. He said, "Look, are you going to let me use your phone or not?" I said, "No, my dad is sleeping and I can't let you go in this house to use the phone." He said, "Okay, bring the phone out here and I'll use it." I said, "No, I'm not letting you in the house." He then asked to bring the phone to the door, and I said, "It won't reach. Please leave." He then said, "Okay." I shut the door and locked it. While my sisters and I were talking about how scary that was, the side door handle jiggles. He knocks and says, "Will it reach out to this door?" At this point, I tell him to go to the neighbor's house and use their phone. He starts to yell, and then says, "I bet your dad's not there. Let me in. I want to talk to him." I said, "Fine, I'll go get him." I then went into my dad's room and got his shotgun. I came out, racked it, and said, "Here, meet my dad." The guard started cussing and calling me names, but he left. At least that's what I thought. He had actually gone around to another door and tried that one. Our dog, who was outside at the time, began barking at him. He proceeded to do something that made the dog yelp and cry out. I screamed out that I was calling the police, and he finally left. I felt really stupid for this entire interaction. I don't know if he was just a guy who needed a phone, but the whole experience was creepy, and I was obviously ill-prepared for dealing with it.